So this is sort of an eye in the sky view of your pattern pieces. Once you get them cut out, you will cut out and pressed and prepped and ready to go. You should have 6 of these, if we counted correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, going through your pieces to see what pieces you have here. You have this piece, number 19, which is a pocket piece. Okay, so you have an assortment of fabrics that have come to you. There are some bigger pieces that are for your larger pieces of your outside of your bag, as well as your lining. And then you have some smaller pieces. So your pocket could certainly be out of some of your smaller pieces, just as you're thinking about your fabric. So you have this pocket, which, just looking at it, it's going to have a little more shape on number 19. And you have this pocket, number 13, which is a more straightforward, just a flat patch pocket, most likely. Okay. Then you have your strap, which is piece number 16. Okay, that's your strap. You have your gusset, which is piece 17. And then you have 2 pieces, one that says it's the front and one that says it's the front and the back. So for this pattern, remember we had all of those patches that we're not going to use, okay? This piece number 14 is what gives you the placement for all of those patches. I'm imagining once we get into the instructions, possibly one of the pockets may be part of this world here also, but we'll wait and see. But essentially, if you look at them, this piece is the same as piece number 18. It's just that this has all of the different lines on it, okay? Information that your pattern pieces give you. One of the most important things that your pattern piece tells you is where your grain line is located, okay? If you look at these pattern pieces, there is an arrow. Oh, it's hard to see because you can see through the pattern. But you see this, there's a line that has an arrow at the bottom of it, and it says grain line on it, okay? That means that that needs to be perpendicular or parallel to the straight of grain on the fabric, okay? If you look at this sort of thin piece of cotton that I have, that I'm going to be lining mine with, and again, we recycle our fabrics for these projects. So this is a lightweight cotton that used to be a curtain, okay? Fabric is woven with threads that go over and under each other on a loom, okay? So you have threads that get laid down on the loom like this, okay? And then threads go through those threads, weaving in and out, okay? What usually happens is that you end up with a hard edge on either side of your fabric. That's called the selvage edge, and that sort of gives you a visual for where your straight of grain is located. These pieces that are coming to you and the pieces that I am using have already been made into things or are scraps that have been cut up. So we're going to need to use some other clues to let us know what the straight of grain is as we lay our pattern pieces out, okay? And for this piece of fabric, one of those clues is, and I'll turn it because you're sort of sitting to the side of me there, is this pattern, right? It's got all of these cute little gardening implements on it and bowls of fruit and plants and whatnot. And you got to think that the person who designed that meant for that to be going up and down, okay? So that is definitely the straight of grain. On a fabric like a cotton that is what is called a plain weave, you also have a straight of grain that runs sort of perpendicular to that. And perpendicular means, if you remember geometry, it means that it crosses like this, right? This is parallel and this is perpendicular, okay? So if it runs directly perpendicular to this, it's also the straight of grain, okay? So if I were laying out my pattern piece on this, I would want this arrow for straight of grain, that's right here, okay? I want that to be running directly parallel to this print or directly perpendicular to this print, which I probably won't do because I would like to be able to see this print, okay? And I'm thinking that this piece will be for my lining. So that's very important information on your pattern piece. The other thing that your pattern piece tells you is how many pieces you need to cut from the fabric using that piece. Now, as I said, on this pattern, 14 is strictly the front. So it is telling you you cut 1, okay? 18, because it is the front and the back, you're going to cut 1 of your fabric. You're going to cut 2 of your interfacing because your front and your back of your bag will want to be interfaced. And then you're going to cut 2 of your lining. Now here's the tricky part is that if you want the front and back of your bag to be out of the same fabric, and since you don't need to lay out these lines for putting the patches on it, you can cut the front and back of your fabric at the same time using just this pattern piece, okay? You definitely cut your lining, cut your interfacing, all of those kinds of things using this pattern piece, okay? The gusset fabric, which again is going to sort of create the sides of your bag, you cut 2 of whatever fabric that is, and it's saying contrast, so it doesn't have to be the same as your front and your back of your bag. And then you need 2 of your interfacing, and then you need 2 of your lining, okay? This pocket, you cut 1 of the contrast, and you need 1 of the lining. This pocket, is the same. Well, it's saying just cut lining. I'm not sure. We'll have to look when we get to that. I can't imagine that it doesn't have a second fabric, but we'll see what happens with this pocket. It may be internal to the bag. I haven't read that far ahead yet. Okay. Your strap, which is this one right here. Okay. Piece number 16. You need to cut 2 of the fabric and 2 of the interfacing for that, okay? And again, this can be a contrasting fabric. It does not have to be the same fabric that the rest of your bag is, okay? All right, and that is your pieces, okay? I'm going to show you how I'm going to lay mine out and what fabric I'm using. And then I will go off camera and lay it out and then show you that. This is going to be my lining fabric for my bag. Then this, I believe, is going to be the outside of my bag. Okay, the front and the back, I hope. Again, my pieces are a little chopped up, but I'm pretty sure I can get a front and back out of this. Okay. Then my gussets and my contrasts will be out of this sort of veggie gardening fabric that's going on here. Okay, so that will be mine. I'm going to go off. I'm going to lay my pieces out on the fashion fabric, and then we'll be back with you.